Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up if anyone can stop Ian and Jordan's reign of terror. It's Victor, and in this week's video preview for The Young and the Restless, it looks like that's exactly what he intends to do, plus the search for the much-discussed Damien leads Nate to the doorstep of a handsome young man who may or may not be the person he's been looking for. Having looked high-low for Damien this week, we'll find Nate taking a meeting with a young man played by Nathan Owens, who notes it's not every day he gets a cold call offering him a job, not to mention a company exec flying out to meet me. He adds Nate's response: "When I see someone I like, I don't waste time." Could this be his half-brother? Elsewhere, the latest plot put in motion by Ian and Jordan continues to unfold. You'll recall that while everyone was distracted by the scene Ian caused at Society, Jordan managed to catch Sharon unawares. Now Sharon is at their mercy, as the wicked do scheme to destroy Sharon's life by framing her for a crime that has yet to be committed, Phyllis murder. So it is that this week Jordan tells an unconscious Sharon that she should be grateful she's not at the bottom of a river, at least not yet. Will the bagger blonde end up just like Heather, tossed over a bridge into the water below, desperate for help after the police bought Ian's story about being a reformed man of the cloth, hook, line, and sinker? Nick turned to his dad, which leads to the shocking moment in which Nikki comes downstairs to find her husband standing in the living room with a man who slowly turns around and reveals himself to be none other than Ian. What the hell is he doing here, she demands. Is this simply a nightmare, or has Nikki come face to face with the man who once terrorized her? The sun had set on the bustling city, casting long shadows over the streets. The neon lights flickered to life as Nick walked briskly through the alley, the cool evening air wrapping around her like a second skin. She had always been a now preferring the calm after the storm of the day. Her footsteps echoed against the walls of the narrow alley as she approached the small bar tucked away in a forgotten corner of the city. It was the kind of place where secrets were traded as easily as drinks, and where nobody asked questions. Nikki was used to this world, one where shadows held power and faces were often hidden behind masks. But tonight was different. Tonight she was on a mission that had brought her face to face with a name she had spent years trying to avoid. Ian Ward. The very name sent a chill down her spine. He was a man of mystery, a man whose reputation preceded him, and not in the way anyone would hope, to the underworld. He was a shadow, a ghost who controlled the flow of money, power, and information in ways that made others tremble. For Nikki, he was the ghost of her past, the man who had caused the most damage in her life. Her mind raced as she entered the bar, the door creaking softly. As she stepped inside, the smell of whiskey, cigars, and damp wood filled the air. It was quiet, too quiet. She scanned the room, her eyes searching for the one person she didn't want to find there, sitting in a corner booth with a glass of scotch in hand. Was Ian Ward. He was exactly as she remembered, tall, broad-shouldered, his sharp features hidden beneath a layer of scruff. His eyes, cold and calculating, seemed to pierce through her even from across the room. He was the embodiment of everything she had tried to escape, and now fate had brought her back to him. Nikki's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't planned for this moment, hadn't expected it to happen so soon. She had heard whispers of Ward's return to town, but she had hoped it was just another rumor, another ghost story. But there he was, sitting in front of her like a specter from her past. For a moment, Nikki hesitated. She could turn around, leave, and pretend she had never come here. But the stubborn part of her, the part that had always been willing to face danger head-on, took control. She walked toward his booth, each step heavier than the last. Her heart pounded in her chest as she approached him, but her resolve remained unshaken as she reached the booth. Ian's eyes never left her, his lips curled into a small smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. "Nikki," he said, his voice low and smooth, like the sound of a serpent slithering through the grass. "It's been a long time." Nikki sat down across from him without saying a word. She was all too aware of how vulnerable she felt, how much she had to lose in this encounter, but she refused to show weakness. She met his gaze with a defiance she didn't quite feel, her fingers tightening around the edge of the table. "You've been keeping a low profile," Ian continued, his eyes studying her every move. "I had to go looking for you, but I always find what I'm looking for." Nikki's jaw tightened. She had never liked the way Ian could make her feel small, insignificant. He had that power over people. He could read them like a book and twist their insecurities until they were nothing more than puppets on his strings. But she wasn't going to let him do that to her again. "Not tonight. I'm not here to play your games, Ian," she said, her voice steady, though she could feel the tension rising in her chest. "What do you want?" Ian's smile grew wider, though there was no warmth in it. "Oh, Nikki, always so direct. I've missed that about you, but you should know you're not the only one with questions." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing as he studied her. "You've been busy, haven't you, running from your past, running from me?" Nikki's breath caught. She hated that he was so accurate, so on point. He had a way of getting under your skin, making you question your every move. But she couldn't let him win. "Not this time. Don't flatter yourself," Nikki shot back, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're not worth running from. I've been building a life, Ian, something you'll never understand." Ian's expression darkened, and for a brief moment Nikki saw a flicker of anger in his eyes, but just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, replaced by that calculating smile. "Oh, I understand more than you think. Nikki, you've been playing the game, trying to stay out of my reach, but you've made a mistake. You see, once you're in my world, there's no way out. Not without my help." Nikki shook her head, refusing to give him the satisfaction of her fear. "I don't need your help. I've made it this far without you, and I'll keep going." Ian leaned back in his seat, his hands folded in front of him, his expression unreadable. "I admire your determination, Nikki, but we both know how this ends. Sooner or later, everyone comes back to me. You'll come back to me." There it was, the threat, the subtle reminder of his power over her, over everyone in the city. He didn't need to say it outright. His words were enough to send a shiver down her spine. She had always known this day would come. She had always known she would have to face him again, but Nikki was not the same person she had been when she first encountered Ian Ward. She had changed, grown stronger, more independent. She had survived the darkness that had once consumed her, and she wasn't about to let him drag her back into it. "I'm not your puppet, Ian," Nikki said, her voice unwavering, "and I'm not afraid of you anymore." For a long moment, Ian said nothing. He studied her, as if trying to read her every thought. Then slowly he stood up from the booth, towering over her with that same smug smile. "We'll see about that," he said, his voice a quiet warning. With that, Ian turned and walked out of the bar, leaving Nikki alone at the table. The tension in the air was thick, but for the first time in years, Nikki felt something she hadn't in a long time. She had faced the monster of her past and stood her ground. Ian Ward might have been a force to be reckoned with, but Nikki had learned to fight her own battles, and this time she wasn't going down without a fight.